Monday, July the 17th, 2017, 2 p.m. in Council Chambers. And we'll call the meeting to order. And first is the adoption of some minutes. Committee of the Whole minutes of July the 4th and the regular open minutes of July the 4th. Could we have, thank you, be King, Rhodes, all in favor. Thank you. Business arising from minutes, there, I assume there are none. Introduction of late items.
Yes, we have that report, acting mayor.
Oh, yes. And where will that go? Will that go in business 6?
Yes.
Okay. So we are introducing business 6, which is an acting mayor report. We have just 3 of us here today because one of our councillors, Councillor Campbell, is on holiday, and Councillor Youngberg's had a death in the family. So we're just down to 1, 2, and 3. So we need to have the agenda adopted as amended. Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. No delegations. First up is water districts, 8 and 9 financial accounts. And this would be to report on expenditures from accounts payable for water councillors and council approval. And water district cash requirements to July 17th are in the amount of $68,736.82. And the options are to approve or to not approve. Councillor Ray, option 1. Are you seconding that? So that would be Councillor Ray, Councillor Moreira, all in favor. Thank you very much. And next we have a development variance permit application, and that would be Ms. Huang.
All right, thank you. So the purpose of this report is to provide an overview and analysis of the application to vary the minimum required setbacks for the subject property located at 9915 74th Avenue. Following the evaluation of the application, Planning and Development Services recommends that Council deny the application, but requests that staff consult with the applicant to come up with a solution to reduce the impact of the proposed detached garage shop and the variances that are required. In terms of the site context and proposal, the applicant has applied for a development variance permit to reduce the subject property's minimum required setbacks from the front lot line on Wren Drive from 9 meters to 6 meters, and the exterior side lot line on 74th Avenue from 9 meters to 3 meters under the AG agricultural zone. The owners who currently operate businesses in the Buena Vista Industrial Park wish to construct a 441 square meter or a 4,750 square foot rancher-style single-family dwelling and a 279 square meter or 3,000 square foot detached garage shop on the property. Currently zoned AG agricultural and located within the agricultural land reserve, the parcel has an approximate total area of 1,862 square meter or 20,042 square feet and is located to the south of 74th Avenue and to the west of Wren Drive. There is an existing fire damage single-family dwelling and detached garage structure on the property, which are the subject of a demolition permit. Surrounding land uses include farmland and a single-family dwelling to the north, the town's new fire hall and the town's Richter subdivision to the east, and greenhouses and single-family dwellings to the south and west. In terms of policy context surrounding the official community plan bylaw number 1230, 2007, the subject property is currently designated AG agriculture, but it is part of the town's 16-hectare southeast Meadowlark area. Specific policies to guide the development of this growth area are outlined in the Southeast Meadowlark Area Plan, which forms part of the OCP. During the Southeast Meadowlark Area Plan process, the Agricultural Land Commission granted approval in principle for the stage exclusion of parcels within the ALR, subject to according with the area plan's policies, especially achieving overall densities of 30 units per hectare by rezoning for medium density residential use, and that would be through the intensive residential development permits area, as well as including a component of affordable housing. Attachment 4 to this report identifies future intended land uses for the Southeast Meadowlark area, including medium density residential and the subject parcel and most of the other properties in the area. Relevant policies included in the Southeast Meadowlark Area Plan include SEM 01, which states that promote and implement development in the Southeast Meadowlark in accordance with this area plan, the official community plan, and other applicable bylaws and policies. SEM 02, over time, apply to the Provincial Agricultural Land Commission for incremental removal of the entire 40-acre block from the Agricultural Land Reserve. SEM 05, designate all other areas, so apart from the currently designated low-density residential, general commercial, and institutional properties, and the new fire hall site on the OCP map for medium-density residential use. So that would be multifamily apartments, row houses, and fourplexes, as well as narrow frontage detached and duplex homes, and including a significant portion of affordable units. SEM 06, target residential developments at a minimum density of 30 residential units per developable hectare, and require that all single-family lots be of narrow frontage configuration with a maximum lot size of 3,500 square feet or 325 square meters, and that all duplex lots be commensurately sized. As part of the analysis, so in accordance with the Town's Council policy on considering development variance permits, Council have to consider the following criteria when reviewing a DVP application. So A, hardship, B, impacts, and C, viewpoints of neighbors. Under hardship, it is questionable whether refusal of the variances would result in undue hardship for the owners. The subject property does not have peculiar physical characteristics that would make it difficult for it to be developed for a single-family dwelling. Since the property's existing structures are proposed to be demolished, any proposed development would effectively take place on a vacant parcel. While the AG agricultural zone requires a 9-meter setback from the front and exterior side lot lines, it should also be noted that the subject property's lot area of 1,862 square meters is relatively larger than typical lots of a residential nature in town. The parcel is 1,197 square meters, or nearly 3 times larger compared to the 665 square meter minimum required lot area for the R1 single-family residential zone. The applicant noted that the proposed single-family dwelling does not contain a garage, and therefore the proposed detached garage is the only garage and shop area. However, staff noticed a discrepancy since the previous site plan with the same building footprint as the current attached site plan provided by the designer shows an attached three-car garage in addition to a proposed 15 by 18 meter detached garage shop. As the applicant mentioned that the house plans may change, staff believes that there is flexibility in the way the proposed dwelling and detached garage shop are designed and configured on the subject property to meet the current AG agricultural zoning provisions. It should also be noted that while the previous site plan indicates a variance to the garage shop height will be required, it was not requested in the current application. Therefore, the garage shop would need to meet the maximum height limits for accessory buildings and structures, and that is 4.5 meters from the average finished grade to the highest point of the roof as per section 4.4 of the zoning bylaw. In terms of impacts, The applicants provided rationale and justification to support the variance proposal in the attached supplementary information document, which is attached to the report. However, the requested variances are contrary to the Southeast Mallard Area Plan policies as previously described. In addition, the size of the proposed detached garage shop, which is likely causing the need for the requested variances to accommodate the new single-family dwelling, does not resemble an accessory building of a residential nature. The accessory building is also likely to create impacts for future development and the adjoining lands to the south and west. Therefore, reducing the size of the garage shop would likely both generate lesser impacts and result in variances that are less than those requested. In terms of viewpoints of neighbors, in accordance with the town's Land Use Procedures Bylaw number 1235, 2007, and the Local Government Act, development application signage has been installed on the subject property, and individual notices were mailed to all owners and tenants within 60 meters of the subject parcel. Any written submissions received from the public regarding the development variance permit application by the July 14th, 2017 deadline would be presented at today's regular council meeting. Any interested persons would also be given the opportunity to be heard on this matter during this council meeting. In terms of implications for the community, as mentioned previously, in accordance with the council policy on considering development variance permits, council shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to be heard and to present any written responses with respect to the variance proposal. Organizationally, the property owners have applied for a demolition permit for the removal of the existing buildings on the subject property. In terms of budget, there are no immediate financial implications anticipated at this time. Sustainability. One of the objectives of the Southeast Mallard Area Plan is to expand the town's supply of much-needed lands for medium-density housing, including an affordable housing component to serve a mix of family needs. Reducing the subject property setbacks for the purpose of constructing a relatively large single-family dwelling and detached garage shop is not in keeping with the objectives and policies of the OCP and the area plan. Options before council include option number 1, council denies the requested variances and the issuance of a development variance permit for the property located at 9915 74th Avenue. With the following legal description. Option number 2, council approves the requested variances and the issuance of a development variance permit for the subject property. Option number 3, council denies the application but requests that staff consult with the applicant to come up with a solution to reduce the impact of the proposed detached garage shop and the variances that are required. And option number 4, council recommends any other action deemed appropriate. And staff's recommendation is option number 3.
Thank you very much for your report. Before we do anything, do either one of you have a question of Ms. Wong? No. Yes. Go ahead, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. The height on the accessory building, I'm not sure exactly what it is, the shop, or was there any indication from the applicant why that was not part of this variance application?
The variance height was not indicated as part of this current application. There was a notation that was provided in a previous site plan, but that was before that was before the current application. So because there wasn't any variances regarding the height, for the accessory building, then that has not been included as part of this application. So the only 2 variances that are being considered for this application are the reduction in the setbacks for the front lot line and the exterior side lot line.
And everything else, just to simplify your report, would remain the same, just it would be closer in the 2 directions. That's all it's being applied for?
Yes, under this current application.
Okay.
So did that answer your question? Because I was concerned
Yeah.
about the height level of that accessory building as well. So that was not brought in
It was
to
not
this
brought in under this current application.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I know as ridiculous as this sounds, I know the applicants are in the room here, but
and they will give a chance.
is there a reason why it was not applied for at the same time?
So because it wasn't included as part of this application, it is assumed that the height limit for the accessory building would need to meet with the zoning
okay.
bylaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Gotcha, thanks.
Could I ask a question? You said that there would be possibility of having written submissions. Has there been any written submissions to date?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay, that's all I wanted to ask. So before we make a decision, we would like to ask if there's anybody who is in the audience that would like to speak to this. Mr. Alenko, did you want to? Would you please come up to the microphone?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Brad Alenko. I'm with McElhaney Consulting, and I'm representing the owners of the property in this application. Just a couple of comments. I noticed that Ms. Huang has indicated 3 criteria that council should follow and deal with variances. One of the criteria that wasn't there was consistency. And I think that's a criteria also that council should be evaluating when we're talking about variances. And I'll describe that a little bit later. What is being proposed by the owners is simply to make his project, his residential project, consistent with the setbacks that are applied to other residential zones. So I think consistency is also a criteria. And just to clear the air and provide some direction to council on the height of the accessory structure, we did not make that part of the application. It was never mentioned in the application, and we don't need the height variance. So it's kind of odd and a little awkward that it comes up that there's as being a potential problem, because we discussed that with the applicant. There is no need for height variance on the accessory structure.
In other words, you're going to follow what was required.
Yeah,
That's what we were asking,
Yeah.
because it had been
Yep.
on another application, that's why.
Well, actually, it wasn't another application. It was just some informal plans that were submitted. And I had a discussion with the town about those plans, and I said, those plans are irrelevant and they shouldn't come forward to council because they're not part of this application. There were some preliminary discussions that they had. They went back, reevaluated, asked me to help them out, and we submitted an application. And we specifically said those plans shouldn't be presented because they're just going to be confusing. And
Okay.
here we are.
Okay?
So just a couple of points. The proposed setbacks are consistent with setback guidelines for residential areas. This area is proposed for residential, and the setbacks being proposed are reducing them from an agricultural setback requirement to a residential setback requirement. The town desires this area to be residential, and the setbacks would seem to make sense to become residential and not agricultural. Leaving the setbacks as they are will result in the property having a very peculiar look in relation to the future residential development, which will eventually surround this property. In other words, if the current agricultural setbacks are left in place, this house is going to be set back significantly farther on the front and exterior side than all the surrounding residential homes that will be built in due course. So leaving the setbacks the way they are is going to actually create a bit of a peculiar look in the neighborhood. The proposed setbacks are consistent with setbacks outlined in the intensive residential development permit area in the town's OCP, which will be used to guide future residential development surrounding the property. So in fact, what's being proposed is consistent with what the direction of the town wants. The town would like residential. It's going to be developed for residential. We're just asking that the setbacks be residential. The 9-meter front yard and exterior side setbacks are not required for any lot used for residential purpose in the SUUS. This would be the only lot in all of the SUUS that would have a 9-meter front and a 9-meter exterior setback for a residential dwelling. Using agricultural setbacks on a lot used for residential purposes doesn't seem to be appropriate. For the past 50 years, the existing house has had a typical residential standard front lot line setback at approximately 6.6 meters. This occurred while the property was within an agricultural zone. So over the last 50 years, area was zoned agriculture, and the house had a residential setback of 6.6 meters. This, what's being required, if they're required to follow the bylaw, is the house would actually have to be set back further than the property than what the existing house is. Creates an odd situation because in the past you had a residential setback in an agricultural zone, and now the town is asking for an agricultural setback in a residential zone. So it's a little bit odd. Madam Mayor, you asked about whether there was any letters of support or comments. I do have 6 letters of support, and I'll read the letter and I'll hand the 6 to you. And these are all provided by people that live on 74th Avenue as well as Meadowlark Drive. I'm aware of the owner's desire to request a variance at the front and exterior side setback of the above noted property, and I understand that the purpose of the proposed reduced setback is to make the setbacks more compatible with the future surrounding residential area. I know the present setbacks relate to the present agricultural zone of the property and feel the proposed residential standards would be much more appropriate, especially considering that it's the town's desire to have this area developed for residential use and not agricultural use. I do not have any concerns with the proposed setback variance and support the Silva's application and believe the setback reduction to make the proposed home on the property consistent with other future residential setbacks is very thoughtful and will serve to enhance the future appearance of the residential neighborhood. And these were submitted by Christine McCall, Devinder, I can't pronounce his last name. There's 6 letters here. Their addresses are all provided, and I'll submit those to Brianne into the public record at this point.
And those are all the same letters?
They're all the same letters, yes. Council has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess just looking at the drawing I have and with your discussions of the setbacks, would there be any rationale why it couldn't go back 3 or 4 more meters on the front side on 74th? Because it seems like it's still quite a ways from your, I'll call it your detached garage.
Sorry, I'm not.
Well, on 70, the picture I have isn't the same as that one, but I'm just using this as, on 74th, you're asking for the variance for a 3 meter, and right now it's at 9 meter.
Yeah.
And I can understand being maybe closer on, because you're next to the fire hall, I don't see it interrupting anything there personally. But on the front side, I'm wondering if it went back 6 meters, would that make much difference? Like split the difference?
It possibly wouldn't. The reason that it's kind of an odd situation because, like you, I would kind of assume, because I've been around forever, 74th will always be sort of the front lot line.
Yep.
But the way the definition of front lot line, it's the narrowest parcel. So the front of this lot is actually Fire Hall Road. So the 6 meters is there, and the setback on 74th is actually an exterior side setback. And that standard exterior side setback is 3 meters. That's what a standard exterior side setback is, 3 meters. Okay. So to answer your question, to move it from 3 to 6, I guess you could, and if the town would like to consider that as the front, we could make that one 6 meters and make the fire hall one 3 meters. But normally you have a front and an exterior side.
Well, I guess I just thought of the fire hall being the front on 74th, so I just thought 74th was the front.
Yeah,
not the house. So.
Technically, the Fire Hall Road is the front.
Oh, okay.
We got the 6 meters is on Fire Hall, and 74th becomes an exterior side.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd just like to say you can understand that the reason this came up at this point is because that property is still in the agricultural land reserve, and we do realize that at some point it could be changed to and taken out of the ALR, but it is there for now, and that's what we have to deal with, and that was why the report was done the way it was. Councillor Rhodes, did you have something? Yeah, please.
Thanks again. I'm curious about a staff recommendation number 3. Have you had conversations with the applicant? Are they willing to talk about it, or are we steadfast doing what we want in the terms of the variance is the way it is, or nothing else? Or
Well, not yet. So that's why we recommended option 3, so that we can have the opportunity to sit down with the applicant to discuss, include, in terms of the variances that are required, as well as, the proposed development on the parcel. Perhaps the variances that are requested are not required, or perhaps, variances that are less than what have been requested can accommodate, the proposed development. So that's why staff recommended option 3 to allow that flexibility.
do you have any comments on that, Mr. Linkler?
I'm not sure what, if we're talking about accommodating or negotiating, the zoning right now, and this isn't a land use application. There was lots of discussion about land uses and future this and future that. We're not asking for a land use change. The owners just simply want to use the property with the current zoning. So, if there's some negotiation, I'm not sure what it would be, because the owner is going to be asked to be giving up everything. He's just asking for residential setbacks. So the town hasn't indicated, where they would go with a discussion like that. The garage setbacks are the same in an agricultural zone as they are in a residential zone. They're going to meet the height requirements in the residential zone. So I'm just not sure where we would go with that.
Just make one other comment.
Councillor
I
King.
guess you're kind of asking for a variance to guidelines of a town, but you want to keep it ALR land. So
Not
in the
necessarily.
LAR,
Actually, just to clarify, there's one of the requirements, or one of the sections in the ALC Act indicates that a property isn't subject to the provisions of the ALR if on December 21st, 1972, it was less than 2 acres in size. I believe this meets that test, in which case this particular property, although it's designated agriculture, it's not subject to the provisions of the ALR. So this property, it's not really in the ALR.
that I need clarification on. So
I think the whole area, according to our map, is considered ALR, according to our colored map here. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you again. Well, I don't think there's any doubt that it's ALR, but I think our future planning is to change that into a residential component. But I'd like to ask our CAO if he has any comments on it. I think we need some guidance. A lot of these variance applications are very simple when you first start off down that path, and you become immensely complicated as you get into it. So if there's any information from Mr. Romanko, I'd sure like to hear it.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that we would like to sit down with the proponent and discuss the overall project more closely is that certainly what we're looking at is we don't know what the final plans are for the house. Although Mr. Alenko refers to the fact that this a preliminary sketch was brought into the discussion, the 3-car garage in that particular home. We're extremely concerned about the intrusive impact of that particular size of shop building on future residential development in the area. The potential other rest of the area will be supposedly designed or planned to the our medium density. A very large building like that has the potential to have impacts on the community, and that particular size of shop garage is not consistent with R1 development. And if we're going to talk about consistency, there's a need to take a look at what is the consistency with neighboring development as well. So we would like to ensure that the future development on that site does not negatively impact the rest of the area's future development. So that's one of the reasons we'd like to sit down with the proponent and explore this this development further.
Councillor Rhodes?
If I could, does the setback change that planning, though? Like, I think that there seems to be a proposal here, and we're looking at this and where everything wants on the property, but I still think that the shop will be part of the process, no matter where the buildings are sitting on the property, are they not? And I also would like to know if we choose to go with option number 3, does that kill the variance application permit? Is
No.
that the end of that, or is it still open to come back again, or?
Well, in terms of option 3, the variances that have been requested, that have been presented, that would be those variances would be denied, but it still allows the opportunity. Perhaps there, later on after discussion, perhaps variances are not required, or perhaps there might be different variances that would be requested. And so there would be another application that would be brought back to council, because a development variance permit would need a resolution from council.
I'm just wondering if there's anyone else.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but if the proponent does not receive these variances, that size of detached garage would not be developable based on the setbacks. Is that true? Because if we push the house into the agricultural setbacks, it's sitting on the detached garage. So the provision of the setbacks, in fact, allows for that size of detached garage to be built.
Otherwise, it would have to be a smaller.
Otherwise, it would have to be a smaller
you're
detached building.
Yeah.
So the overall development plan, including the detached garage, is based on getting the needed setbacks.
In order to get that size of detached garage. I'm just wondering if there's, and not to take you away from the microphone, Mr. Alenko, but I'm just wondering if there was anyone else in the audience who wished to speak on this subject. Is there, or not? And if not, it's perfectly all right. I just wanted to give that option, to have that option open. Okay. Council, would Councillor Rhodes?
My apologies, just one more question, Mr. Lenko. Is that the motivation for changing the setbacks?
Sorry, I was actually having a...
And if you're not, if you say you don't want to answer it, I'm fine.
Repeat the question. I was having a discussion with the client for a quick second there. I missed the...
So the incentive to reduce the setbacks down to the requested distances, is that the reason? The reason for that is to increase the size of the shop or the detached garage, or?
Not really. If you take a look at the site plan that we presented, not the one that the town has, that house could be reduced in size a little bit. It could be pulled over to the side. It could be pulled to the back, and they can make it work if they had to. But again, this is about setbacks. It's not about land use. It's not about the size of the garage or the height of the garage. It's just about setbacks. And if the town doesn't approve the setbacks, they'll probably go ahead and build it anyway. It's just that at the end of the day, it's going to look awkward. And that was my first point, is you're going to have a residential development that's going to have these agricultural setbacks, in contrast to what it was historically, which was residential setbacks in an agricultural context.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Rhodes.
So that we can move ahead with some debate on this, I'd like to make a resolution based on number 2. The council approves the requested variance and the issuance of a development variance permit for the subject property.
Is there anyone? I will second the motion to have it open to debate. Councillor Rhodes, did you want to speak to that?
So I'm going to take a very simplistic approach to this. I know there's all kinds of information and everything. My reason for speaking in favor of the motion that I put on the floor would be the future of that property and that whole southeast Metal Arc area up there is to eventually have that in a variety of residential type of subdivisions, whether we have 1 or 10 or 20 or how that looks at the end of the day. It's going to be an area that will no longer be in the ALR and will be part of our residential component in our community. And I think that based on that, that satisfies me enough to support this down to the levels that were requested in the permit, in the variance permit.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'll vote sort of against it because you just mentioned you had some dialogue with your clients and there was possibly a middle ground to work with. So I don't know how you can, if we have to kill it exactly, or if there's a way we can kind of keep it on the table with some more dialogue. I don't know if that's possible.
Well, it sounds like it is that if we went with option 3, I mean, I know we have option 2 on the board. Yes.
If that got
could that would allow us to have further dialogue on the size of the on the setbacks, but also on the size of the garage, or not?
Well, maybe I'll let Dilla speak to that.
Sure, that would allow for further discussion, and later on after discussion, we would be able to come back to council with details of the discussion, whether what variances, if any, are required, and then we would be able to bring that back to council.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my concern is the garage shop is of such a size that concerns me more than the setbacks for the property around the edge. I'm a little bit concerned about other houses and developments going in there that may be in competition with the size of the shop and the garage. And I guess to me that's more the issue than the setbacks from the road. So that's why I'm kind of concerned.
I just wanted clarity. I don't want to defeat the variance. I want to know if it can sort of be tabled or moved 2 weeks while there's open dialogue with the applicant and come back. If it stays the same, then that's what we'll vote on.
That's the intent, is to, you have to deny the variance,
okay,
and then we get into discussions to clarify the project more, and in that time the planning department can determine the further need for those variances based on the nature of the project and its impacts on the community, and then they could come back with the same request or some variation of that particular request.
Yeah, that's
okay. Councillor Rhodes?
When you own a piece of property and you want to put structures on it, there's a clearly defined percentage of that property that you can develop. Am I correct in saying that? There's a formula that we follow.
Lot coverage?
Yeah.
Yeah, the coverage of buildings as opposed to raw land.
Yeah, right now there are, in the current zoning bylaw right now, there are no lot coverage provisions. So just based on the definition of the accessory building, the provisions more has to do with the setbacks rather than the lot coverage, because there are no lot coverage provisions right now in the bylaw.
Yeah. Well, I'm still going to stick by my comments that in the future, it could be 5 years, it could be 50 years from now. our intent and our dream and our vision for that area is it for it to be residential.
Right, but yeah, I
And
guess, yeah,
And the
sorry.
setback application does kind of conform with residential.
With residential. Yeah.
Right, but at the same time, based on the Southeast Meadowlark area plan, there are specific building types, and lot sizes that are prescribed in the area plan, right? So, I mean, if it is single-family dwellings, they are, based on the policies of the area plan, they are to be of a narrow frontage configuration. And at the same time, because this current subject property is captured within the Southeast Meadowlark area plan, in the future, if the ALC, if there is, let's say, a development proposal that gets referred to the ALC for, consideration of exclusion, they would look at whether a proposed development conforms with the policies in the Southeast Meadowlark area plan, right? So that includes the policies that I've described earlier, in terms of the minimum densities that have to be achieved, so such as medium density housing. So the ALC would need to look at that as well. So we do have to look at it, from a policy perspective, as a whole for the entire area.
Mr. Mako.
Yeah, just one final comment from myself. We're going back to from I'm just eyeballing it, and I'm struggling with how that particular project as a whole can proceed without the provision of those variances. So the provision of the R1 variance enables the development of that large detached garage. That is something that I think if down the road the proponent gets the setbacks, I think that's part of a negotiation process that's needed to ensure that the rest of the community has less impact by a building of that particular stature. And I think that's one of the reasons that we would really like to sit down with the proponent and know what's being built on that particular site.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Mr. Alenko?
Having listened to council's thoughts on the matter, the owner is prepared to trim off 10 feet off of the side of the garage, so rather than 50 feet, it would go to 40 feet. And he's prepared to increase the setback on the garage from 1.5 meters to 2 meters if council is prepared to provide the 6 front and the 3 exterior side. So,
thank you for that. Does that not then talk to, let me see if this makes sense to me, going with option number 3 in order to officially deal with that? Am I correct? Rather than saying approving option number 2 because of the proposed changes, it seems to me that it would make more sense to go with option number 3 and include those changes and then come back. Does that make sense, Mr. Mako, or not?
Well, first of all, accepting those particular terms would change it, would not make option number 2, the acceptable option, because in fact, what you have is very specifically in option 2 that all the variances are provided, with nothing else. I'd have to, again, refer back to our planner relative to ensure that, I just want to ensure that the right legal processes are being followed by this type of what I would call council forum negotiation versus this coming forward to council in an acceptable forum.
Yeah, I mean, I see that as sort of falling under option number 3. I think it is better, at this time for us to go back to the applicant, work those details out, and then come back to council afterwards. So I'd see, that as being part of option number 3.
Okay, thank you. So, we do have a motion on the table. moved and seconded that we go with option number 2. Are we ready to deal with that? All in favor of option number 2? Okay, that is defeated. Then what we need to do is there someone who would like to make a different option? Councillor
I'd like to move
King?
option number 3.
Presumably to include what has just been
Yeah, but,
offered today.
It'd have to be reworded, I would presume.
Can we do it that way, or how, Mr. Remenko?
I think the easiest is just to go with option number 3 and allow the planning department and Mr. Alenko and the proponent to sit down and bring these options formally to council as a request.
Okay. So you have made that motion. I will second the motion. All in favor of that motion? Against? Thank you. Okay, so option 3 has been okayed, and we look forward to having the proponent and Mr. Alenko work with Ms. Huang and Mr. Cunningham to come up with those changes that were suggested.
Number 4, and I just farm it.
That's your choice, actually.
Actually, I think that's what I will do.
Any other action deemed? Well, option number 4 says council recommends any other action deemed
Option
appropriate.
5 then, because if you're not interested and you keep pushing the agricultural, I'll farm it.
No, we're not suggesting that, Mr. Silva. We are suggesting that they're...
Unrealistic, so.
And
No, but you've made the suggestion that you would be willing to make some changes. Legally, we have to do that with the planning department, and we are absolutely happy to have that suggestion, and the planning department will deal with you, and we can move on. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Next, we have the report, the Urban Forestry Plan and Tree Management Bylaw. Mr. Remenko.
Council's 2017 budget includes $15,000 for an urban forestry plan and tree management bylaw. A copy of the request for proposal is attached, which was released on June 7, 2017, with advertisements placed on the town website and in the Oswego Times, Civic Info, and BC Bid. Proposals were received from 4 companies by the closing date of June 28th. The companies are listed below in alphabetical order, and together with their that should not be tender prices, but RFP prices before GST. They were CTQ Consulting for a fixed price of $19,545. Diamond Head Consulting Vancouver with 2 options, one at $19,130, a second at $26,400. McElhaney Consulting Kamloops, option 1, $17,122. Option 2, cost plus. The 4th company is South Shore Forest Consultants Sydney, a fixed price of $14,955. Hard copies of the proposal are available for viewing at the Planning and Development Services. All proposals were rated according to the rated performance criteria set out in Section 7 of the request for proposal. The comparative results are summarized on the following table. I won't go through all the details. I'll just provide that CTQ received 81 out of 100 points, Diamond Head 52 out of 100, McElhaney 56 out of 100, and South Shore 39 out of 100. As can be seen, CTQ Consulting is the clear leader under our rating system, and in no circumstances are any of the other companies recommended for consideration, which means that the review of these proposals, we would feel that if we did not go with CTQ, we'd probably go back to request for proposal for this as an option. CTQ are already known to us from their excellent work on the Gyro Park Peer Advancement Study, and two key players from that project are part of the Forestry Plan and Tree Bylaw team, namely Ed Gaffone as planner and project manager and Frank Poland as landscape designer. Reference checks on the other team members were very positive. CTQ's tender of $19,545 exceeds council's projected budget of $15,000 by $4,545. However, in view of their strong leading qualifications, we recommend them for the contract. CTQ would complete preparation of a plan and bylaw in 4 to 5 months. At the initial startup meeting between key staff and the consultants, we would clarify how forestry policies and regulations should be differentially applied to public and private lands. Once all draft documents are completed, the consultants will present their final findings and recommendations to council, staff, and the public for obtaining feedback before completing the final copy. Options: Option 1, council selects CTQ consulting, or Option 2, council requests more information about CTQ's proposal, or 3, council cancels the competition. Impacts: Soyuz would greatly benefit from effective tree policies and regulations because of our status as a resort community. Public input would be encouraged. Organizationally, staff will have more informed basis for responding to the growing number of public inquiries we receive on tree matters, as well as better advising developers on their landscaping plans and contributing to quality public improvement projects. Budget: the Director of Finance is submitting a separate council report requesting approval for either a financial plan update to cover the overall budget requirement of $4,545 to retain CTQ services, or possibly transferring the requisite monies from a project that has come under budget. Sustainability: urban forests have considerable environmental benefits, including improved quality of life, shading and reduced energy consumption, noise reduction and visual shading, improved air quality filtration, reduced greenhouse gases through carbon sequestration, reduced storm water runoff, and improved bank stability and enhanced riparian fish habitats. Recommendation: staff recommends that council approve retaining the services of CTQ Consulting to prepare an urban forest plan and tree management bylaw for a fixed fee of $19,545, subject to council approving additional monies of $4,545 to meet the budget shortfall.
Thank you very much. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Ermanco, when I look at the options here, where it says sort of Option 1, Option 2, and one says 19,000, one is just over 26,000 from the same company, what would be getting more for the 7,000?
No, CTQ only had the second.
I know they had the one, but Diamond Head has 2 options. So
Okay, I really don't know. I didn't go over the proposals. All I know is that the Diamond Head on its ranking only came in at 52 out of 100. So
okay, and I have one more question. When I see value for money with all of them, CTQ's got 20 and a couple of them have 10. I find it hard to come up with a rationale how you could come up with a number for value for money when one's more expensive than the other and gets more points.
Well, probably you have to take a look at what's being proposed for the dollar. You know, and again, Mr. Cunningham would be here, except he's had to be away today.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I have a number of issues with this. The spreadsheet that was provided as part of the report is very clear and concise, and we can see the results of that and everything, but the one thing that it does not say is how those numbers were arrived at, and I think that's kind of an extension of what Councillor King was asking as well. I see it, I understand it, it's the preparation of it that we don't know. In a lot of cases that wouldn't matter, but we have to make the decision, right? We have to make the decision to do this. On many, many occasions in the past, I have asked probably 10 to 12 times about awarding contracts to companies that bid lower than others. And almost on every occasion we have been compelled to offer that contract to the company that bids the lowest end, provided that they're qualified to do so. So one of the questions that I have to ask are the other two proponents, are they qualified to do this job? Knowing full well that we probably don't have an answer for that right now. And secondly, this is way over budget. You know, I know the amounts are relatively small, but I mean, it's in my grade 3 math, probably about 35% over budget, you know, and those things all weigh in because we always try for consistency on these things, and even if you added a few zeros to those amounts, the impact would be exactly the same. So I'm a little troubled with a lot of this. I mean, if this was a $1.5 million job and it was 35% over budget, we probably wouldn't even have seen the report. So that I'm really struggling with going over that. Now, the question that I would really like answered is the other two that were lower than the one that's being suggested, are they qualified to do the work?
Well, if you look at the rating scale, you can see applicable experience in company and staff assigned based on the scores. It's obvious they have the staff that can do the job. So I would say that they're qualified. Again, I did not review them. I can't speak to them, but I'm just looking at the numbers, and that's what the numbers tell me. In looking at going over budget, again, when we do budgets for proposals like this, if anything, it's a best guess. We don't go out and seek out the numbers from consultants. We put a budget figure in, and we hope that we hit the right number. And if we don't, then, you know, and our record is pretty good in terms of hitting that number. And in this case, we're talking about a difference of just over $2,000 between a company that Mr. Cunningham feels very comfortable had a better proposal than one that is still over budget, and so, you know, we're talking about a $2,500 difference here on a company and a score rating between, you know, a very significant difference in the score rating between the first and second rates.
Councillor Rhodes?
When you look at the results, the proposal contents, I mean, it's almost even right across the board. I mean, and that's why I'm questioning. I'm not questioning the spreadsheet. It's hard to even comment it without sounding critical, and that's not my intention here. The source of the numbers is you know, where I'm having the difficulty with it right now.
Well, I guess if the source of the numbers, the source that made the numbers work is not here. So I would recommend that if council is not comfortable with this, that you just will bring it back at next council meeting when Director Cunningham is here, and then he can explain his rating to council and his comfort with that particular proposal, and explain it to council. And it's, you know, that's fine. You know, it's not being taken as anything like he went through them, he rated them.
Yes.
And he has to be able to speak to the numbers.
Councillor King? Yeah.
No, I was just going to recommend option 2.
Requesting more information, or option 3, canceling the competition. You don't want?
No, I'm not going to cancel the
okay.
competition.
It looks to me like it would be, if we didn't go with this one, it would have to be moved to sending out another RFP.
We can bring it back at next council meeting, and Director Cunningham will be here to explain his numbers.
Okay. Councillor Rose, did you have something to?
I just wanted to clarify what my intent is. If we can get the same service and pay less for it, I think that's what my motivation is.
Okay.
Well, I think if my recommendation would be that you speak to Mr. Alan, Mr. Cunningham, and have his assessment speak to a $2,500 difference.
Okay.
in terms of quality of service that he feels, and why his numbers came out the way they did.
I'll second that motion.
So it's been moved and seconded that we go with option number 2. All in favor? Thank you very much. We'll look forward to having that clarified at our next meeting. The next is the request to provide sewer service to 8407 Lakehead Campsite Road. Mr. Dinwiddie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll apologize ahead of time. I'm suffering a bit of a cold, so I'll try not to hack too much.
Because you don't have warm enough clothing on.
Not nearly enough. It's a little chilly out there. It's a little nippy out there.
You've been at the meeting this morning.
In February of 2011, the town of Osoyoos created the Extraterritorial Service Provision Northwest Sewer Policy PW013. The town of Osoyoos was in the process of extending sewer collection system to the northwest of the municipal boundary, extending to the north end of Osoyoos Lake. The area outside the municipal boundary was established as the Northwest Sector Sanitary Sewer Servicing Area by the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen. A request for sewer service could be made by the property owners outside the municipal boundary, but not included in the Northwest Sector Sanitary Sewer Servicing Area, if that request is submitted in writing to the Mayor and Council. The cost of sewer service to properties that do not abut the town of Osoyoos sewer collection system is $23,790 per single family equivalent, plus actual cost to upgrade the sewer collection system to offer sewer services to the property by extending the sewers collection system to the property line. As an overview, the Operational Services Department received a letter from Ms. Pearl Quintel on July 3rd of 2017 inquiring about connecting to the Northwest Sector Sanitary Sewer Service. The Operational Services Department, with True Consulting, has determined that there is sufficient capacity in the existing sewer pipe to accommodate Ms. Quintel's request to connect her single-family home. However, since Ms. Quintel's property does not abut the town of Osoyoos sewer collection system, so she will have to make the appropriate arrangements with the neighboring property owners to either connect to their sewer system and then the town system, or obtain a utility easement through their property to connect to the town of Osoyoos sewer collection system. It should be noted that this easement agreement is Ms. Quintel's responsibility to obtain. The implication for the community is the elimination of another potential septic field from the area in the RDOS by Osoyoos Lake, organizationally increased demand on the town of Osoyoos sanitary sewer system. Budget, there should be no impacts because the town of Osoyoos should not be responsible for any costs associated with connecting Ms. Quintel's property to the Northwest sanitary sewer system. Significant dates, she would like this done, of course, as soon as possible. Sustainability, increased demand to continue to maintain the town of Osoyoos sewer system. So the options before council are that council allows Ms. Quintel to connect to the Northwest sanitary sewer service for a fee of $23,790 plus actual cost to install the connection to the town of Osoyoos sewer collection system. Option number 2 is that council does not allow Ms. Quintel to connect to the Northwest sanitary sewer service. Option number 3 is that council request additional information before making a decision. The recommendation of the administration is option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I'd like to make a resolution based on the exact wording in option number 1, but I do have a couple of questions.
Okay, seconding that? Go ahead. I have some questions too. You go ahead first.
The first question is, was she offered this service as part of the original Northwest Sewer Project, or we don't know? Or
it was before my time, but I believe so.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get my geography straight. I believe that I'm trying to figure out where the collection line is going to go to her property, because she's on the far eastern part of the area over there, and I think there's
a piece of property apparently between where Ms. Quintel's property is, then there's a piece of property, and then there's our collection system. So That's what we're saying in the report, is that it would be her responsibility to either get an easement through her neighbor's property or to get permission to, because on that neighboring property there is a sewer collection system that does hook up to our system, but it's not ours. It's like it was part of that trailer park down at the end there. Yeah. So if she were to get permission to hook up to that system and then that system connects to our system, that's one option. Or she can get an easement to run a pipe essentially from her property across the neighbor's property to connect to our sewer system.
Now, would that run parallel with ours, or would it? I'm trying to figure out whether it's going to be in the lake or on the shore?
No, it should be on the shore. It would be on land. It's not in the lake.
So if it did not connect to the existing one that's home by the park area there,
Yeah.
would it run parallel to ours along there and kind of meander with that, or?
I don't know the exact alignment of what her line would look like, but I would imagine it would kind of be parallel to the shore, not anywhere near the shore, I would imagine. And
Would we be in charge of that decision?
where it would go?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would probably give her advice as to what would be the best alignment so that it would be the easiest connection to our system.
Okay, good, thank you.
But she hasn't asked for that yet, so.
Can I ask, I'm a little bit concerned here about, that the cost of sewer service to properties that do not abut the town of Vesuvius sewer collection system is $23,790. And I know that we have another one coming up today, but the sewer collection goes right beside the property. So that's slightly different than this one.
Mr. Zackel apparently has an answer.
Am I correct?
So, no, basically what the policy states is the service connection is $23,790. If it abuts, if it doesn't abut, it's $23,790 plus the cost of connection. So there's an additional charge for a property owner or property that doesn't abut the sewer system. So there is additional cost.
So there is an additional cost for this one?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because she has to go through the neighbor's property
Right.
to get to us.
So if other people want to and are not close to our sewer system and they wish to do it, they would have to go and get the okay from the individual properties that are between our system and their house?
Only if an easement's required. If the property, it all depends on where the sewer line would go.
Okay.
So ultimately, if it doesn't abut the sewer or the sewer line, then wherever the property is located, it would be designed in such a way, hopefully, that it would stay on roads. But if it had to go through a property owner's property, they would have to get an easement to do that.
Okay.
So what you see from Ms. Quintel's is she would have to have some agreement with the Willow Beach development to allow her to connect to their sewer system, A, or B, have an easement across that property to connect to our town sewer system.
And are the other people out at Willow Beach in that development, are they hooked up to our sewer system now?
Yes, they are.
They are, okay. So it is right beside?
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
thank you. It just seemed a little confusing. And and it's her responsibility to go and set this other...
Yes.
We would have to okay it? Is that what Councillor Rhodes asked? We would have to make sure that...
Yeah, we'd have to see what
Yes,
her arrangement
see what it
was
is
and
and-
if it's acceptable.
And that would be up to you and...
and our engineers to make sure that it would work, yeah.
It doesn't have to come back to us then? That's what I'm asking,
no.
does it? No. Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you. Just for clarity, mine was purely an environmental question. I don't want to see sewer lines running all out into the lake and back into the beach again.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure they wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
Nobody does.
I just wanted to make sure that we were in control about where that pipe goes.
Yeah, we would be, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. Option 1, which was the recommended option. Am I correct? It was moved and seconded? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Next is the contract award for the curbside garbage recycling, compostable materials, and large items collection contract. Mr. Dinwiddie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a bit of background, in March of 2017, the towns of Osoyoos, Oliver, the village of Karamias, the district of Summerland, the city of Penticton, and the RDOS issued a request for proposals for the collection of garbage, recycling, compostable materials, and large items. It was thought that by issuing a common RFP for this service, some savings may be realized for all the participating municipal governments. It should be noted that the existing curbside collection contracts for all of the above municipal governments expires on July 1st, 2018. By awarding a new curbside collection contract in July of 2017, we are giving the successful contractor sufficient time to acquire new equipment he may require to execute this contract. As an overview, the participating municipal governments received 4 bids in response to this RFP. One of the bids, however, was only interested in providing service to the City of Penticton and therefore will not be considered in this analysis. The 3 remaining bids provided pricing for either a cart collection or a manual/mixed collection system. A cart collection system would involve the following. Each residence would be provided with one 120-liter garbage cart, one 240-liter recycling cart, and one 240-liter yard and garden waste cart. The successful contractor would be responsible for the purchase, assembly, delivery, and maintenance and monitoring of all carts provided to the residents. At the end of the 7-year contract, the municipal government would have the right to purchase all the carts used for $1. A mixed manual collection system would involve the following. Residents would continue to use their existing system for curbside collection services. Unlimited yard and garden waste disposal would continue to be offered. A spreadsheet illustrating the costs of the 3 bidders' proposals is attached for Town Council to review. It should be noted that all the participating municipal governments involved in this RFP have great concerns over the ability of the lowest bidder to perform this contract. The lowest bidder, although a local contractor, does not have sufficient experience or personnel to effectively execute this contract. The trend in industry is toward the automated cart curbside collection system, since it provides quicker pickup with fewer worker safety issues. The City of Penticton and the Town of Oliver have decided to implement a cart collection system at this time. The Village of Karamias and the RDOS have decided to remain with a manual collection system. The administrations of the Town of Oliver, the City of Penticton, and the RDOS have all recommended awarding this curbside collection contract to Waste Connections of Canada. The implications for the community are the community will be served by the same curbside collection contractor as previous years, with no observable difference in service levels. If a cart system is implemented, community residents will need to adapt to new service implementation system and find areas to store the carts. Organizationally, the Operational Services Department will continue to maintain its current excellent working relationship with Waste Connections of Canada. There may be a need to assist the contractor with implementation and ongoing monitoring. We will assess our ability to absorb these demands within our current manpower. Budget-wise, the implementation of a CART program will result in an additional $54,135 over the current mixed collection system. This cost is spread over the term of the contract. The additional cost of implementing a CART program can be offset by the expenditure of the $30,000 reserve that was set up to facilitate a CART program and the funds we receive from MMBC program, which amounts to approximately $36,000 per year. Significant dates: in order to give the successful bidder sufficient time to order new equipment with which to perform this contract, it is recommended that Town Council award this contract as soon as possible. Sustainability: the community will have a stable, consistent, familiar provider of curbside collection services for the next 7 years. A CART system will assist with waste management monitoring. The options before Council are: Option 1, Town Council awards the contract for curbside garbage, recycling, compostable materials, and large items collections to Waste Collections of Canada for CART collection. Option 2 is that Town Council awards the contract for curbside garbage, recycling, compostable materials, and large item collection to Waste Connections of Canada for manual collection. Option number 3 is that Town Council award the contract for curbside collection, recycling, compostable materials, and large item collections to one of the 2 other companies who submitted bids on this RFP. Option number 4 is that Council requests additional information prior to making a decision. The recommendation of administration is option number 1. However, there's some clarification. So the recommendation to go to a CART system is not without controversy and varying opinion. Our current system seems to work well, as it allows residents to rent carts if they so desire, unlimited yard waste pickup, and limits residents to a single bag, which is in fact is a smaller amount than the proposed cart. If the system is broke, why fix it? The recommendation to move to a CART system is in order to align our community with contemporary waste management systems, which will involve increased monitoring and improved work-safe practices for our contractor. The implementation of camera systems on the trucks will enable monitoring of products that go into our landfill and assist with ensuring good recycling programs. In the future, there will probably be a need for a system of organics composting, and compulsory use of carts will exist with this transition. The work-safe handling of our waste by contractors is providing our community with an expanded social conscience for all workers who have a connection to our community services, direct employee or contractor. There will be some hurdles to overcome. Penticton experienced some initial negative feedback with residents, but overall, the service is now receiving a positive review.
Thank you. This has been a bit of a confusing issue. I know that we've got a year in order to get this sorted out, and we certainly have different points of view within the regional district. I'm just going to say a few things about this first before we go to this. In Penticton, and we have talked about this at some length at the regional district table, so I do see it from a regional district point of view as well, where all of the municipalities plus the regional districts have discussed this. My concern with going to a cart system is that there are many large carts, perhaps on small properties. And then if we add an organics one, that would make four carts. So many houses may not have that ability. We have a lot of retired people here who have concerns about dragging large carts up and down their driveways. People who live alone, I have a very small amount of garbage, and to have to put it in a large cart and drag that down my driveway doesn't seem to make common sense. But I do understand the reason for having carts in terms of large, heavy loads and people who are employed by the system to handle those. A large recycling cart is definitely good because I appreciate the fact that that is double the size of the garbage, and so it should be. It is cheaper if we had the manual pickup, definitely, than having the cart. Garden waste is definitely restricted in terms of having the carts because now it's possible to put out several bags of garbage. With this system, you would be allowed one.
Right.
I do know that in Penticton, it was discussed at the RDOS table, which is how I know this, that there are people in Penticton on staff who are able to assist when carts go missing, when they get put in the wrong place, and I don't think that smaller municipalities have that same option. I do know that in Oliver, it was quite a difficult vote, and it ended up being a 3-2 vote on there. Regional districts have agreed to go with the system that's already in place. So in my mind, there's a lot of reasons why we shouldn't go with the cart system. The one reason that I think the cart system might be better is if you have large loads, and that makes it easier for the employees of the garbage company to pick it up. But I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with going that route right now. But that's just from my point of view. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I'm going to jump in and make a resolution based on the wording in number 1, the recommended.
Okay. I will second it so that we can have some discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm not going to jump into a rant like I did at the last meeting regarding garbage and that type of thing. If anybody's interested, and go back and look at it on Granicus on the internet. However, I would like to address some concerns, and hearing directly from at the regional district table as well from some of the principals that are involved in the companies that collect this, WorkSafe is rapidly becoming very invasive in their business because of serious shoulder, back, and particularly lower back injuries.
Garbage is heavy.
To the point where they are struggling finding people to pick garbage up anymore. the recruitment process is difficult for them. However, that's not the biggest thing for me. The biggest thing is when you talk about money and this thing costing extra, at the end of the day, it's not going to cost us anything extra, because I've said it once, twice, 3 times in the last several meetings. If we ever have to open up another landfill, all of these costs will seem so minimal. Cart collection will assist us in one area that's very, very important, and that's in the compostable materials that we will collect and hopefully separate away from regular garbage, because our landfill is made up of 40% of compostable materials. So if we can take that out of the hole in the ground and put it into a system where it composts, and I know this has a lot to do with the regional district and their mandate of moving towards the facility, which they're struggling with. I understand all of that, but in our little part of the world, we can do our part to reduce the volume of stuff that goes into our landfill, and this is a very effective way of doing it. So you have safety and worker welfare, because if suddenly they don't have any workers because they all have injuries, and I am embellishing it a little bit, and I admit that, but it is a very serious recruitment obstacle for these businesses. And the increase in the cost, yes, it's an increase, but it's part of what we do, providing that service in our community. And it will come with a whole bunch of other problems that we've all discussed and we all know about, but I think it's our job to work through those, but we have to start somewhere, and I'm very supportive of the cart collection process. And one final comment, when you look at the wording that Mr. Dinwiddie used about it started off with a lot of problems and issues, and now it's a very positive thing. This is a good way for us to move right into the positive part of doing it.
Thank you. That wasn't a rant, but it was all right. I just want to point out that compostable things is not part of this contract yet, because that has not been agreed to. So that could be. I said that. Yeah, some way down the, because there's a fair amount of discussion about where it should go and how it should be treated. But you're quite right. There could be, that could be in the future. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to speak against this proposal or recommendation. Is this a 5-year contract? 7-year contract?
7-year contract.
Yeah, I guess I'm back to the mind, if it's not broken, why try to change things? And I was at the open house where this idea was presented, and there had to be 20 or 30 people there, and I never really heard one person in favor of this.
I didn't hear that either. So.
Yeah, and I just want to bring that to your attention, that that's why I'm going to vote against this.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table, and that would be to go with option number 1, which is the cart collection system. All in favor? Against? Then could we, that has been defeated, do we have another motion? Thank you.
I'll put a motion forward in number 2. Council awards the contract to Curbside Garbage Recycling Collection Materials and Large Item Collection to Waste Management Collection of Canada for manual collection.
I'll second that. Did anybody want to speak to that? Of course you do.
Thank you, Member Kordoff. I've always felt that sitting in this chair as a councillor that it's absolutely mandatory that we have a vision of the future and where we're going with things and how things are going to work in the future. And we've all sat here, and some of us have had intense training about sustainability and looking at where we want to be in the future, and then working hard to get to that goal or that target. Not going with this definitely is a setback in this particular area in my mind. I think that we have an opportunity on our plate right now to be visionary. I think we have an opportunity to provide a service that, yes, it does have problems, but clearly there are areas all over this province, all over Canada, and all over this world that have clearly demonstrated that you can work past these indiscretions and have positive outcomes for everybody in the future.
Good. Thank you. I would just like to say that the regional district which surrounds the town has agreed to go with manual pickup, so it could be a little bit confusing if the one side of the street was with carts and one wasn't, as happens quite often with this. So, you know what, this is what council deals with on many issues, as you can tell, that we have to look at all sides of it, and we have to come up with sometimes a compromise, sometimes we have to just vote with how we feel at the time, and therefore I will ask for, it's been moved and seconded, that we go with option number 2. All in favor? Against? Thank you. So option number 2 has been approved. Thank you, Mr. Dinwiddie.
Thank you.
I know that this is a confusing issue. Next is Mr. Zackel, a request to connect to the town sewer system.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So property owners of 10235 87th Street have formally requested to connect to the town sewer system. They've provided a check for $23,900, which has been included, and their letter dated June 26, 2016 or 17 as attached. This property abuts the town of Oswego sanitary sewer system, but is not connected. During the construction of the Northwest Sector sewer system, this property opted out of being part of the Northwest Sewer Project, and was made aware that if they wished to connect in the future, they'd have to pay for the full cost of the sewer service. This request in writing by the owner says that their current septic field is no longer working and they are in need of connecting to the town sewer system. Under our extraterritorial service provision, Northwest Sewer Policy PW 013, it allows for properties in Area A to make a request to council to be connected to the sewer system at a prescribed fee. This fee for connection is $23,790 plus the $110 inspection fee. There currently is sufficient capacity in the system to accommodate this. So implications under community: provide sewer services to the property. Organizational: building inspector will inspect a connection if council approves providing sewer to this property. Budget: the town will receive $23,900 from the property owner for the cost of the sewer service plus inspection fee. Significant dates: to allow the property of 10235 87th Street to connect to the town's sanitary sewer system upon approval by council. Sustainability: removing one more property from being on septic, thus continuing to work towards environmentally protecting the lake and our water sources. And options before council: to agree to allow the property at 10235 87th Street to connect to the town's sanitary sewer system and pay this prescribed fee of $23,790 for the cost of sewer service plus $110 service inspection fee. Or option number 2, to not allow the property at 10235 87th Street to connect to the town sewer system and return their check in the amount of $23,900. And a recommendation before council from staff is option number 1. There is capacity available to connect this property to the town sewer system.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
I'll make a motion based on the wording that's recommended, number 1.
I'll second.
Second to that. Seems to me to make sense. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Next is the notice of motion.
No, it's the acting mayor appointment.
Acting mayor.
Absolutely. Sorry. We've got to go with number 6. You're
That's
quite
me.
right. Did I miss it before? No.
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
So under the council procedure bylaw and community charter, council is required to appoint an acting mayor. Council made appointments in December 2016 for the 2017 year. Councillor Youngberg is unavailable. Council for July. Council should appoint a different acting mayor for the rest of July. A resolution of council is required for this change. Implications: community Leadership provided in mayor's absence. Organizational, none. Budget, none. Significant date, as soon as possible. Sustainability, continuity in leadership. The recommendation is that a councillor be appointed as acting mayor for the month of July. That council
Good.
chooses.
Thank you. And you've given us two options. It would either be Councillor Rhodes or Councillor King.
Whichever council
So,
decides.
do we want to flip a coin or what?
Well, I'm here and available, so,
Oh,
yeah.
is that all right?
It doesn't matter.
have no
Okay.
plans at all.
CJ Sunday too, but,
And Councillor King is the acting mayor for September.
Yep.
Are you the acting mayor for October, or for August?
yeah, he is.
I think so.
Yeah, he is.
And that's probably just as well, so we'll let you do it. Okay, would you like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion that Councillor Rhodes become the acting mayor for July.
And I'll second that. All in favor? Good. Thank you very much. So now we will go on to the general net payroll Sunbowl. Okay, we're at that one now. Okay, good. So this is to report on expenditures from accounts payable for council approval and payroll information. And that would be general cash requirements of $457,285.81 and Sunbowl cash requirements of $2,976.31, and those would be done by consensus, and net payroll accounts of $86,027.55 for information. Could we have somebody move the, okay, thank you, option one, moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Next is the building report, and it's quite interesting to have a look at this, especially when you look at the bottom line here. That let me get it on here. That the total for the month is $1,625,500. Total to date, $8 million. And the total to date in 2016 was $2.6 million. So we've got lots of people building things, and we have some single-family dwellings here, and renovations, and repairs, and a warehouse. So we're happy to see that. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Member Cordoff. On a lighter note, I always like to pause a moment for reflection at this point, and just let everybody dwell on the numbers and the increases over last year. This is a fantastic thing for our community. Building reports are a key indicator about good, solid economic health in our community, and this report is giving us numbers that are just absolutely incredible, and I hope the pattern continues for a while.
I hope so too. So we need a motion to accept the building report. Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor? Thank you. And next is the bylaw enforcement, and I thought it was interesting when I was comparing the number of files in 2016, 2017. It looks like property is up a little bit this time, but some of the others are fairly equal to last year. I just want to say that the bylaw officers have done an amazing job of dealing with a lot of people in the community, especially over the long weekend when we had thousands here. I was at the regional district table, and we were giving talks about what was happening in the community, and in Naramata they said that they'd had quite a large party on July 1st, and they had 200 people there. And somebody over in Karamia said they'd had 400, and I said we had 20,000. So we have a few more things to deal with here. I just want to particularly thank the bylaw officers for their continued working and accommodating people, and I've seen many of them down at Gyro speaking very appropriately and respectfully to people. So I think that's good. Parks enforcement, interesting that that the number of files for last year for dogs was 200 and 288, and alcohol seems to be quite a few more than last year as well. So there are some areas where I know that the bylaw officers are dealing with difficult situations, and we just want to thank them again. So could we have a motion to accept the bylaw report? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. And any committee reports? No. So it would be the CAO report. Mr. Manko.
Thank you, Mayor McCullough. Just a few of the activities that the administration has been involved over the last couple of weeks. Starting first in community services, our outdoor pickleball courts are not open, although we do not have the final court painting. That'll happen in fall. They still are very usable right now. The Cactus Kids Day Camp is going very well, averaging about 35 participants a day. The Sun Bowl Ice is in, and it's the coolest place in town, so certainly it'll be very, very active here in the next while with the Ringette camp, figure skating, goalie, the Coyotes conditioning camp, and hockey camps. But there is drop-in public skating and drop-in hockey, so please go to our website to find out the appropriate times. And we have a number of camps coming to town: iLearning Canada Video Camp Design, and a tennis and explore sports camp. Corporate Services has been working hard on something that's really, really a tough thing, records management. It's one of these necessary evils, but Jeanette and Brian have been working hard on it with us, and we will be bringing to council some bylaws in fall relating to formalizing our record management processes. Also, our Director of Corporate Services has been working with Emergency Operations Center at the Regional District with all the fire, and first it was flood, then fire, and an RFP was sent out on the sandbag pickup, so we're just waiting for responses from residents to see what the number of bags are out there. Dealing with lots of complaints and bylaws, many of them related to the unsightly properties that we have been working on, and also a reminder about no burning any place in BC. This was a note from our fire chief, and our finance department reports that as of July 4th, we had 93.15% of our taxes were being paid. That compares to 93.21 in 2016. So a fairly stable number, and then we work through with others with late payments and whatever the banking arrangements were. Public Works continues with our highly touted beach cleaning project, mowing all our parks and keeping them in very good order. And also we've started up the Wren lift station. This is over in Wren Place, and that's now to handle the sewer waste from the fire hall, and then our future development over at the Southeast Meadowlark. And then we also had a garbage cleanup along the Canal Trail. Our thanks to the Correctional Center for doing that for us. Myself continue to work on a new fire bylaw. Also working on a water service agreement for a property on Lakeshore Drive. Setting up our annual joint council meeting with Oliver, and working to get three-phase power installation to the airport. And just a matter of an update for council on that. We did receive our payment from our major contributor at the airport this morning, as a matter of fact. So we're good on that front. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Could we have a motion to accept the report? Thank you. 1, 2, all in favor? Thank you. And now we will go to council reports. Councillor King, you're first.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the pleasure to attend the Music in the Park Friday night. It was well received, great entertainment. would really like to thank the committee that goes out of their way to find great entertainment for our town. It's a must that should happen every year. Totally support it. And Saturday night, it was actually, to me, a bigger pleasure. Had the chance to take my great-grandchildren to the park, seeing all the children up on the stage, 30 or 40 of them with their parents, with their grandparents, and the people in the audience just totally enjoying themselves was just also a pleasure. And because of the great weather we have, it really helps.
Well, I'm certainly glad you went to both of those and
Thank
you took
you.
your grandchildren, so that's terrific. Thank you. We don't have Councillor Youngberg and Councillor Campbell here, so we'll ask Councillor Rhodes. Have you got a rant today? No?
Yeah, you bet. No, not really. This morning, I don't know the exact time, we had a fire in our community. There was some grass that was lit by I'm going to stick my neck out here, a careless person that threw a cigarette out their window and lit some grass on fire on Lakeshore. Caused our fire department to activate, take people away from their jobs and all those other things to go out and put this fire out. And, why is that a big deal? Why am I even bothering mentioning it? Well, if you go back to the Parks Enforcement report, and 223 hours spent on smoking in our community. 223 hours, and once again in my grade 3 or 4 math, is 5.5 weeks of 8 hours a day, people out doing nothing but that one particular thing. I'm not going to pass judgment on anybody that smokes cigarettes. That's your own personal choice. But it does become a public nuisance when you're throwing them out your window and starting fires in our community, particularly when you cannot turn on a Canadian TV channel in all of Canada, not just in our province, where fires are not impacting absolutely every person in Western Canada, including the cities of Edmonton and Calgary that are suffering from heavy smoke damage from forest fires. Not all of them are caused by smoking, but a lot of them are. And it just incenses me that people could miss out on flicking the butt out the window and the impact that it has when it hits the ground. There's a good thing on Global. It's on every day where they do a test thing, and they throw a cigarette into a grass field. And I know it's a repeat of a reoccurring video. 5 seconds to burn 200 feet. That's all it takes when you throw out a cigarette. And it takes minutes for our fire department to get down there, so you can see how these things get out of control. So I would like to ask every person that smokes, or anybody that knows anybody that smokes, find some other way of getting rid of them. I mean, it's just common sense. The impact of having another fire like we had in our community in 2003, and then a later one up above our industrial park out there, it literally cost millions of dollars to put these fires out. And they are preventable, and I just ask that everybody use common sense when you smoke inside your vehicle or anywhere else. Keep them, look after them, they're your responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. And I think that we need to say kudos to Talon Loughton, who has provided some water bottles to a town and to several places, and is encouraging people who smoke to put some water in it, put it in their car, and that would be one way, definitely, rather than throwing it out the window. I think that car manufacturers don't put cigarette ashtrays in the cars anymore. That may be part of the problem, but they do put bottle holders in there, so it would be easy to keep something like that in your car. I was reminded of when I used to come up here back and forth to Vancouver a long time ago in Hope Princeton, Manning Park. There was a big fire, and it was a couple of, not a century ago, but probably 50 years ago, and there was a huge scaffold with a cigarette on it saying, and I don't remember what what the sign was on it, but every time you went by there, you realized that a cigarette had caused the damage in that, and you wouldn't know it was there anymore because it's grown up again. But we do need to be very, very careful with smoking and with how we dispose of cigarettes. Also, some of these motorcycles and quads can get very hot tailpipes, and that can ignite a fire as well. Especially now, and I heard this on, it might have been Global the other day, they were asking why did we have a flood and high water and the ground was saturated, and then all of a sudden we went to, switch gears, and we're now into everything's being so dry and forest fires. The explanation was that because of the wet spring, the grass grew very, very quickly as soon as the hot weather came, and that has become quite a problem in these fires. So people need to be careful. So the other day I saw that, because oftentimes you sort of sit here and think, what can I do to help this situation? And I did see that several places in town were collecting money for the Canadian Red Cross, and so I went and made a donation, and that was recommended rather than buying toiletries and that type of thing, and I'm sure those are needed as well. But the Canadian Red Cross has asked that people donate money in order to purchase the supplies that they might need to help the 40,000 people in British Columbia who have been evacuated from their house. And I know Mr. Stuckey is probably sitting here shaking his head because he lost his house, was it a year ago? In Fort Mac. So you already know the devastation that goes on. People need to be super careful. That's all I can say. So donate to the Red Cross if you're interested. The banks have it, the Suez Times has it, the grocery stores have it. And I just want to thank all of the town staff who are really busy this summer doing, making sure that our visitors and our locals are looked after very well. That's the fire department, that's our public works. They're doing a great job of keeping this town safe and clean and the right place for all of us to enjoy in this time. So we will not be having a council meeting at the beginning of August. So our next council meeting that you'd be invited to, everyone, is on August the 21st. But certainly if there's any concerns, you need to contact Town Hall. So don't wait for that day. Anyway, I hope everybody has a good day. Stay safe and be very careful about how you approach fire. No fires. Thank you very much, everyone. Could we have a motion to?
So moved.
Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor that we close the meeting.